In the early hours before dawn on June 6, 1944, most of the German soldiers stationed along the Normandy coast believed they were facing another false alarm. Obergefreiter Heinrich Severloh, positioned above Omaha Beach with the 352nd Infantry Division, later admitted that many men had grown numb to alerts. The Atlantic Wall was considered strong. The sea was rough. The weather was poor. In their minds, no rational commander would choose this night. That illusion shattered just before sunrise. Severloh recalled that the darkness suddenly gave way to flashes of light along the horizon. What he first thought were distant storms quickly revealed themselves to be naval guns. The sea, once empty, appeared alive. Thousands of ships, landing craft, and support vessels stretched farther than the eye could see. Severloh later said that at that moment, fear set in. Not fear of dying, but fear of something unstoppable approaching. Lieutenant Firking, another German officer defending Omaha Beach, described the opening bombardment as overwhelming. In his post-war writings, he said that the ground shook continuously, bunkers rattled, and communications lines were severed almost immediately. Years of fortifications, poured concrete, and steel reinforcements were being cracked open by American naval fire in minutes. The belief that the Atlantic Wall was invincible collapsed almost instantly. As the first American landing craft reached the shore, German infantryman Franz Gockel observed something that deeply unsettled him. He saw entire waves of soldiers cut down in the surf, yet more kept coming. Gockel later wrote that he expected the Americans to retreat after such losses. Instead, they advanced. Men crawled. Men dragged the wounded. Men kept moving even while bleeding. To Gockel, this was not recklessness, it was resolve. Heinrich Severloh later claimed that he fired thousands of rounds that morning, yet despite the fire, despite the chaos, the Americans did not break. He said that no matter how many fell, more appeared behind them. For the first time in his military service, Severloh questioned whether Germany could win a war against a nation capable of such sacrifice and scale. German paratrooper commander Baron Friedrich von der Heydte received fragmented reports from Normandy as the morning progressed. Roads were clogged, units were scattered, and Allied aircraft dominated the skies. Von der Heydte later admitted that German command and control had collapsed. Orders from Berlin arrived too late or made no sense. He observed that the Americans had mastered modern warfare, air, sea, and land, acting as a single force. General Erich Marx, commanding German forces in the sector, attempted to organize resistance as American troops pushed inland. He was mortally wounded that same day. According to accounts from those around him, Marx acknowledged that the invasion's scale and speed exceeded anything Germany had planned for. The Americans were not probing. They were committing everything, while German soldiers faced shock on the beaches. French civilians experienced something very different: hope mixed with terror. In villages near Omaha and Utah Beach, families huddled in cellars as bombs fell and buildings shook. French civilian Marie-Louise Osmont later recalled that the night felt endless. She did not know who was winning, only that something historic was happening. In Sainte-Mère-Église, French residents witnessed American paratroopers descending from the sky. At first, many feared reprisals from German troops. But as fighting continued, French civilians began to realize the Allies had come to liberate, not occupy. Witnesses remembered Americans sharing food, helping the wounded, and speaking kindly even amid chaos. French resistance member Raymond Léger later said that when he saw American soldiers advancing through Normandy villages, exhausted but determined, he knew the occupation was ending. He recalled Germans retreating in confusion while Americans kept moving forward, despite heavy losses. To him, D-Day was not just a battle. It was the return of freedom. German soldier Herbert Kaiser, stationed farther inland, wrote that by the evening of June 6th, morale among German troops had collapsed. The Americans had secured footholds, brought in armor, and established supply lines with terrifying efficiency. Kaiser admitted that the sheer logistical power of the United States was unlike anything Germany could counter. In the days following the invasion, German prisoners spoke openly with their captors. Many expressed disbelief at the scale of American production. One prisoner reportedly asked how a single nation could build so many ships, planes, and tanks and still send wave after wave of men across the ocean. Years later, German veterans such as Sevelo reflected on D-Day with a mixture of regret and respect. Several admitted that June 6th was the day they understood the war was lost, not because German soldiers lacked courage, but because America possessed overwhelming strength, unity, and resolve. For French civilians, D-Day became a memory of fear transformed into gratitude. Towns were damaged, lives were lost, but liberation followed. The sound of American boots on French soil marked the beginning of the end of Nazi occupation. When history looks back on D-Day, it is not only remembered through American heroism, but through the words of enemies and civilians alike. On June 6, 1944, the world changed. Even those who stood against America knew it. The beaches of Normandy proved that freedom, once unleashed, could not be stopped.